Our bond means nothing, Noah. Adrian Vale said it without raising his voice, which somehow made it worse. He stood across the room, calm as an enigma who had never imagined the bond could stop existing. Noah looked at the faint bond mark on his wrist. Warm. Familiar. Still there. All right, he said. Adrian frowned. All right. You were clear. I expected you to argue. Would it change what you said? Adrian did not answer. That was answer enough. Noah turned for the door. Adrian caught his wrist automatically, then released him when Noah looked down at his hand. Minutes later, Noah was in the bond registry office 2 streets from their building. He was not there to frighten Adrian into chasing him. Adrian had finally said aloud what months of distance had already taught Noah. He had been carrying the meaning of their bond for both of them. A bond with no shared meaning was still a bond. And that was the problem. At the front desk, the clerk asked, "Permanent or temporary separation request?" Noah's pulse stumbled once. "Permanent." The clerk looked up. "Mate bond severance?" "Yes." "Both parties present?" "No." "Then you can initiate the request alone. Final severance still requires the process to reach confirmation." That was all Noah needed to know. He could begin. The clerk slid a form toward him. Noah filled in his name, designation, and bond registration, checked that he was not acting under coercion, then paused at the question asking whether Adrian had been informed. He checked no. He was not hiding the request to manipulate him. He simply needed the decision to become real before it became another conversation Adrian could dominate. At the bottom was one final statement. "I understand that permanent severance, once completed, ends all formal mate bond recognition between the registered parties." Noah read it twice. His hand tightened around the pen. For years, being Adrian's mate had felt like the most permanent fact in his life. Even on the bad days, even when Adrian was distant, Noah had treated permanence like a promise. Adrian had treated it like background noise. Noah signed his name. The ink looked almost insultingly ordinary. No dramatic flash through the bond. No sudden pain. No proof from the universe that he had made the right choice. Just his signature, placed beneath a decision Adrian had never believed Noah would make. The clerk stamped the form and entered something into the registry terminal. "You'll receive confirmation once the request is accepted into review." Noah stood. "How long does that take?" "Usually by the end of the day." He nodded. "Thank you." Outside, the city looked exactly the same. That was the strangest part. People crossed the street. A delivery driver argued with someone over parking. Somewhere above him, a window opened. Noah had expected a permanent decision to sound louder. Instead, it felt quiet enough that Adrian could still be home, assuming their argument had ended the way all the others had. Noah hurt, Adrian distant, the bond intact beneath everything. Noah went back to the apartment because he still lived there. He did not pack a bag. He did not leave a note. He did not perform departure before he had actually decided what departure would require. Adrian was in the kitchen when Noah returned. "Where did you go?" he asked. Noah removed his coat. "Out." Adrian watched him. "Are we going to talk about earlier?" Noah thought about the form sitting in the registry system with his name at the bottom. "Not tonight." "Noah, you said what you meant." Adrian's jaw tightened. "And you're just accepting that?" Noah met his eyes. "I'm accepting that I can't make it mean something to you." The words seemed to unsettle Adrian more than anger would have. Noah walked past him and closed the bedroom door behind him. He slept badly, but he did sleep. The next morning, before Adrian woke, Noah's phone lit with a single notification from the bond registry. "Permanent severance request accepted for processing." Noah stared at the words until his breathing steadied. Nothing had been completed yet. The bond still existed. Adrian was still his mate. But the relationship was no longer resting on the assumption that it always would be. Noah locked the screen and set the phone face down just as he heard Adrian moving in the next room. Adrian still believed the worst thing that had happened between them was what he had said the night before. He had no idea Noah had already turned those words into a choice neither of them could take back by pretending the conversation had never happened. Adrian learned about the severance request before breakfast was over. His phone vibrated once against the counter, and Noah watched the exact second his expression changed. Adrian read the notification twice. Then he looked up. "What is this?" Noah set down his coffee. "You know what it is. You filed for permanent severance." It was not a question. "Yes." Adrian stared at him as if waiting for the word to become less true. "When?" "Yesterday. After our conversation?" After you told me what the bond meant to you. Adrian's jaw tightened. I said it didn't have to define us. You said it meant nothing. That is not the same thing. Noah felt the old instinct rise immediately, the one that wanted to argue over wording until Adrian admitted the emotional point Noah had been carrying for both of them. He let it pass. It was clear enough for me. Adrian put the phone down hard enough to make the screen rattle against the counter. Cancel it. Noah looked at him. No, for a moment. Adrian seemed more surprised by that single word than by the request itself. Noah, you asked what I was doing. I answered. This isn't a reasonable response to one conversation. It wasn't one conversation. Adrian's expression sharpened. Noah did not expand. He had no intention of turning breakfast into a trial of every missed dinner, every cold morning. Every time Adrian had treated the bond as something that would simply remain in place while he decided how little attention it required. That history explained the choice. It did not need to be relitigated for the choice to exist. Adrian crossed his arms. What do you want? There it was. The question Noah had expected eventually. Not why. Not are you sure. What do you want? As though the severance request had to be a negotiation written in a language Adrian could solve. Nothing. Adrian gave a short, disbelieving laugh. You filed to permanently sever our mate bond, and you want nothing. Not from you. Then what is the point? Noah held his gaze. The point is that you said the bond meant nothing, and I stopped treating it like something I was responsible for preserving alone. Adrian went still. So this is punishment. No, it certainly looks like punishment. Punishment would require me to need a reaction from you. Noah pushed his chair back. I don't. Adrian stepped into his path before Noah could leave the kitchen. Not touching him. Just standing there with the unconscious confidence of someone used to being able to stop a conversation by refusing to let it end. You expect me to believe you're indifferent? I didn't say I was indifferent. Then you're hurt. Yes. And this is because you're hurt. It started because I was hurt. Noah paused. I'm continuing because being hurt finally made me admit something I should have admitted earlier. Adrian waited. Noah said, I don't want a bond that only matters when I'm the one giving it meaning. Something flickered across Adrian's face. Not guilt yet. More like irritation at finding a door where he had expected an argument. What would make you withdraw it, he asked. There isn't a list. Then tell me what this is supposed to accomplish. It is supposed to sever the bond. The silence after that was different. Adrian had been treating the request like a weapon with terms. Noah had just told him it was an exit. Adrian looked toward the phone again. The registry says the request cannot be withdrawn by the non-filing mate. Correct. So I can't cancel it. No, but you can. Noah said nothing. Adrian's eyes returned to him. You can, can't you? At this stage, yes. That answer seemed to steady him. Too much. Noah saw it happen. The tension in Adrian's shoulders easing by a fraction because he had found the loophole he wanted. Noah could still change his mind. Therefore, in Adrian's mind, eventually he would. Then we don't need to make this dramatic, Adrian said. Take a day? A week. Be angry if you need to be. Then withdraw it. Noah stared at him. You think that's what's going to happen? I think you're reacting to what I said. I am. And when you stop reacting, you still think this is temporary. Because my feelings are temporary. Adrian frowned. I think you're upset. I am upset. Noah's voice stayed quiet. That doesn't make the decision imaginary. He moved past him. This time Adrian did not block the doorway. Noah made it halfway down the hall before Adrian said, You really expect me to just let you do this? Noah turned. The question exposed more than Adrian seemed to realize. Let you. Not lose you. Not understand you. Let you. Noah answered carefully. I expect you to understand that it isn't yours to cancel. Adrian's expression hardened again. We're mates. For now. The words landed harder than Noah intended. Adrian's face changed. Noah felt the bond between them exactly as it had always been. Warm, present, undeniable. But for the first time, Adrian was looking at it as something with an edge. Something that might actually end. Noah walked into the bedroom and closed the door, not to make a point, but because he needed space that Adrian did not automatically follow him into. He sat on the edge of the bed and looked at the registry confirmation again. His hand trembled once before he locked the screen. In the kitchen, Adrian remained silent for a long time. He had discovered the request and learned he could not erase it. But Adrian still believed the same thing in a different form. Noah was hurt. Hurt would pass, and the bond would remain. What Adrian had not yet understood was that Noah had stopped waiting for his feelings to improve enough to make staying easier. The next thing Adrian would have to face was harder than a formal request. He would have to watch Noah begin making choices as if a future without him was not just possible, but real. Adrian realized Noah was serious when a moving box appeared beside the bedroom door. Not packed, not dramatic, just folded flat against the wall with a roll of tape resting on top of it. Adrian stood there longer than he meant to. What is that? Noah looked up from the tablet in his hands. A box. I can see that. Then I'm not sure what part is confusing. Adrian ignored the tone. Why do you need it? Noah set the tablet down. I applied for a studio near my office. For a second, Adrian thought he had misheard him. You what? I found a place. It's smaller, but the lease starts next month. Adrian stared at him. The apartment they shared was closer to Noah's work, larger than anything Noah would reasonably need alone, and already covered under the household agreement attached to their mate registration. Noah had never complained about it. Why would you pay for another place when you already live here? Adrian asked. Because I may not live here much longer. The severance isn't complete. I know. Then this is unnecessary. Noah's expression barely changed. For you. Adrian crossed his arms. You're making your life harder to prove a point. No, the studio is farther from work. By 12 minutes. It costs more than your current share here. I know. And it's smaller. I know that too. Adrian's irritation sharpened because Noah refused to give him anything to correct. Then why? Noah looked at him for a moment. Because staying here is easier only if I assume you'll still be part of my life next month. The answer landed differently than every argument they had already had. Noah was not asking Adrian to offer something better. He was not standing there waiting to hear that he could stay. He had accepted inconvenience simply to stop arranging his future around Adrian's permanence. You could remain here even if the bond is severed, Adrian said. Noah's gaze shifted. Would you want that? Adrian opened his mouth. Nothing immediate came out. Noah nodded once, as if the pause had answered enough. Exactly. That isn't what I meant. Then what did you mean? Adrian hated how difficult the question felt. He had meant the obvious thing. Noah did not need to make every consequence real before it arrived. They could leave things where they were while the emotion settled. The apartment. Their routines. The quiet domestic structure Adrian had never thought of as something Noah might consciously withdraw from. I meant you don't have to dismantle your life over this, Adrian said. Noah's voice stayed calm. I'm not dismantling it. I'm making sure it still works if you're not in it. Adrian went still. That sentence followed him for the rest of the morning. He noticed things he had never needed to notice before. Noah had separated his personal orders from Adrian's payment profile and removed him from automatic appointment notifications. Nothing spiteful, nothing hidden. Each change asked the same question. If Adrian were no longer included automatically, what would Noah choose for himself? By afternoon, Adrian found Noah at the dining table comparing commute times from the new address. You really signed the lease? He asked. Noah looked up. I paid the deposit. Adrian felt something cold move through him. Before the severance is finalized. Yes. So if you withdraw the request, you lose the deposit. Probably. And you did it anyway. Noah closed the tablet. Yes. Adrian had spent 2 days telling himself Noah was hurt. Hurt faded. Hurt could be soothed. Hurt wanted recognition. A deposit was different. A smaller apartment was different. Those were choices made by someone accounting for a future, not someone staging a reaction. You're planning around leaving me, Adrian said. Noah's face tightened slightly. I'm planning around not being trapped by the possibility that I won't. You're not trapped. Then this shouldn't bother you. Adrian almost answered too quickly. Of course it bothered him. The thought of Noah sleeping somewhere else bothered him. The thought of coming home to silence bothered him. The idea that Noah might build routines Adrian did not automatically know about bothered him more than it should have if the bond truly meant nothing. But admitting that now felt suspicious even to Adrian. Was he reacting because he wanted Noah, or because for the first time he could see the shape of Noah's absence? You could have told me before signing, he said instead. Noah's expression changed, and Adrian knew immediately he had chosen the wrong ground. Why? Because we're mates. That's the part we're severing. Not yet. No, not yet. Noah stood. But I'm not going to wait until the final day to learn how to exist without everything that came automatically with being yours. Adrian flinched at the word. Being mine. Noah looked at him. Isn't that what you've been? Assuming. The question was quiet, but Adrian had no clean answer for it. Noah picked up his tablet. I'm not taking anything from you that you said mattered. Then he walked away. Adrian remained at the table, staring at the commute map, still visible on the screen Noah had forgotten to lock. 12 minutes farther. Less space. More money. A worse arrangement by every practical measure Adrian could think of. And Noah had chosen it anyway because independence from the bond now mattered more than convenience inside it. That was the first piece of evidence Adrian could not explain his anger. Noah was not trying to make himself harder to lose. He was making himself easier to leave. And for the first time, Adrian had to confront a question he had avoided since the registry notice arrived. If Noah no longer wanted attention, concessions, or the security of being his mate, what exactly was Adrian so afraid of losing? The bond, or Noah himself? The registry sent the next notice 3 days later, and this time Adrian read it before Noah did. He was standing at the kitchen counter when the message appeared on both of their phones. Permanent severance request. Consent window open. Noah looked at the notification, then at Adrian. You got it too. Adrian's face had gone still. What does this mean? It means the request is moving forward. I can read that. His voice stayed controlled, but Noah heard the strain underneath it. What happens now? Noah opened the message. The filing had passed review. Adrian could submit a statement or challenge a procedural error, but he could not cancel Noah's request. Final continuation still required Noah's confirmation. You can respond, Noah said. You can't withdraw it for me. Adrian took Noah's phone from the counter before seeming to realize what he had done. He handed it back immediately. And if I object? The registry records it. It doesn't give you control of the filing. Adrian looked away. For the first time since the severance request appeared, there was no irritation in his expression. Only calculation, and something closer to fear than Noah had seen from him before. So this ends if you confirm it. Eventually, yes. And if you don't, then it doesn't. Adrian's gaze returned to him. That answer seemed to narrow the room. Noah could almost see the problem rearranging itself in Adrian's mind. Before, Adrian had treated the request like a reaction with a technical name. Now the registry had reduced everything to one fact he could not command around. Noah's choice mattered more than Adrian's authority. You could stop it, Adrian said. Noah nodded. I could. You're still planning to move. Yes. You're still paying for that studio. Yes. And you haven't withdrawn anything. No. Adrian pressed one hand against the counter. Then what am I supposed to do with that? Noah looked at him. I don't know. Adrian let out a quiet breath. You're the one holding the decision. I'm the one who filed it, Noah said. And you keep asking what you're supposed to do as if there's a correct move that guarantees the result you want. Adrian stared at him. There usually is. Maybe that's the problem. Adrian's eyes narrowed, but Noah did not explain further. Not yet. The point had not fully formed between them, and forcing it into a speech would only make Adrian argue with the wording instead of confronting the consequence. Noah slipped his phone into his pocket. I have to go to work. Noah. He stopped. If I told you not to confirm it, would that matter? Noah looked back at him. Adrian's question was different from the commands he had used before, but only slightly. It would tell me what you want. You already know what I want. Do I? Adrian's expression tightened. Noah left before he could answer. That evening, Adrian was waiting when Noah came home. No blocked doorway. No demand to see the registry message. Just a folder on the table and 2 untouched cups of coffee going cold. Noah glanced at the folder. What's that? Nothing official. Adrian sat across from him. I was trying to understand what changes if the bond is severed. Noah did not touch the papers. And, more than I thought, there was no drama in the admission. That made Noah listen. Adrian continued. The shared registration ends. The automatic access and household defaults end with it. The rest becomes something we choose separately. Noah nodded. Adrian closed the folder. You really planned for all of this. Enough not to be stranded by my own decision. Adrian was quiet for a long moment. I thought you'd cool down. Noah did not answer. I thought once the anger passed, you'd withdraw it. Still nothing. Adrian looked up. I was wrong. It was the first clean admission Noah had heard from him since this began. Not enough to change the filing, but enough to change the conversation. Yes, Noah said. Adrian almost smiled without humor. You could make that less satisfying. It isn't satisfying. That seemed to surprise him. Noah added, I didn't want you to be wrong. I wanted you not to make me prove it. Adrian's gaze dropped. For a second, Noah felt the familiar ache of wanting to rescue him from the discomfort. He let the feeling exist without obeying it. Adrian had spent days assuming Noah's hurt would eventually bend toward the old shape of their life. Now that assumption was gone. "The bond matters to me," Adrian said at last. Noah's breath caught before he could stop it. There it was. The sentence he had once wanted badly enough that he might have forgiven almost anything to hear it. Adrian looked directly at him. "I don't want it severed." Noah said nothing. Adrian continued, more carefully now. "I know what I said. I know how it sounded. You know what you said." "Yes." "And now?" Adrian's jaw tightened. "Now I know I was wrong about how little it mattered." Hope moved through Noah before he could defend against it. Small, painful, real. Adrian saw something shift in his face and leaned forward. "Then don't confirm it." Noah looked at him. The hope did not disappear, but it changed shape. Adrian had finally reached the conclusion Noah once believed would solve everything. The bond mattered. Preserve it. Stop the severance. Maybe, in Adrian's mind, that was the whole answer. Noah looked down at the untouched folder between them. For the first time, Adrian was no longer asking because he thought Noah would inevitably stay. He was asking because he knew Noah might actually leave. That mattered. It simply did not answer everything. "I'll think about what you said," Noah told him. Adrian exhaled, as if he had been handed ground beneath his feet again. Noah noticed. He noticed too much. Because Adrian now believed the problem had finally become simple enough to solve. He had denied the bond. Noah had moved to sever it, and now Adrian was admitting the bond mattered. The next question was whether preserving it would actually preserve anything Noah still wanted to keep. The next morning, Adrian was waiting in the kitchen before Noah came out of the bedroom. The folder from the night before was gone. In its place sat 2 cups of coffee and Adrian's phone face down on the table, as if he had decided there would be no registry notices between them this time. "I thought about what you said," Noah told him. Adrian straightened slightly, and Noah sat across from him. "You were right about one thing." Hope appeared too quickly in Adrian's face. "The bond does matter." Adrian exhaled. "Then withdraw the request." Noah looked at him. The relief in Adrian's expression froze. "That's the part you're still not hearing. You just said it matters." "It does. So why are we still doing this?" Noah wrapped both hands around the coffee cup. "Because whether the bond matters isn't the same question as whether this relationship works." Adrian stared at him. "They're connected." "Of course they are. But when you said the bond meant nothing, your behavior had already made that easy to believe. Being bonded to me had stopped requiring anything from you." Adrian's jaw tightened. "That isn't fair. Maybe not completely, but it's what I was living." Adrian looked away. "And now I'm telling you I was wrong." "I heard you. Then what else am I supposed to say?" Noah leaned back slightly. "That's the problem. You still think there is a sentence that fixes this. You wanted me to acknowledge the bond." "I used to." Adrian's eyes returned to him. "Used to?" "Yes." Silence filled the kitchen. Adrian looked at him for a long moment. "Isn't that what the severance is?" "No." Noah's voice stayed quiet. "The severance is me making sure staying isn't automatic." Adrian frowned. Noah continued before he could interrupt. "That's what changed for me. I spent too long thinking that because we were bonded, the relationship had to be protected, even when I was the only one protecting it, even when I kept excusing your distance." Adrian's expression had gone completely still. "And when I told you it meant nothing, you made me stop pretending permanence was the same thing as commitment." The words sat between them. Adrian did not defend himself this time. Noah looked down at the coffee. "I didn't file to make you panic or say the right thing. I filed because I needed to know what my life looked like if the bond stopped deciding the answer for me." Adrian's voice was lower when he spoke. "So even if I tell you I want the bond, that tells me you want the bond. And you think that's all I want?" "I don't know yet." Adrian flinched. Noah let the reaction happen without softening the truth. "That's the question you keep skipping." "What question?" Noah met his eyes. "Do you want me? Or do you want to stop losing something you thought you couldn't lose?" Adrian said nothing. For the first time since the filing, he looked less angry than unsettled by himself. "You think I only care because you're leaving," he said. "I think you only started asking what this means when leaving became possible. That isn't the same thing." "No. But I need to know the difference before I hand you back the certainty you had before." Adrian looked at the table. "What would prove it?" Noah almost smiled. "You're doing it again." "Doing what?" looking for the task that gets me to withdraw the request. Adrian went still. Noah continued. If the only reason you change is to stop the severance, then how do I know what happens after I withdraw it? Once you feel safe again, once the bond is permanent again, once you know I'm not leaving, what keeps us from becoming exactly what we were? That question finally stripped the argument down to something Adrian could not solve with urgency. His face changed. I don't know. Noah nodded slowly. Neither do I. There was no satisfaction in being right. Only relief that the real problem was finally in the room. Adrian sat back. So saving the bond isn't enough. It was the first time he said it without Noah having to push him there. No, and you might still sever it even if I mean what I'm saying now. Yes. Adrian looked toward Noah's wrist, where the bond mark remained unchanged. Then what am I supposed to save? Noah held his gaze. Not the bond. Adrian looked back at him. Noah's voice softened, but only slightly. If there's anything left worth saving, it has to be the relationship. And I don't know yet whether we have one that exists when I'm free to walk away. Adrian was silent for so long that Noah could hear the refrigerator hum behind him. When he finally spoke, the urgency was gone. Then I've been trying to stop the wrong thing. Noah did not answer. He didn't need to. The severance request was still active. Nothing had been withdrawn, but the conflict had changed. Adrian was no longer facing a piece of paperwork he needed to prevent. He was facing a harder question. Even if the bond survived, why should Noah choose the man attached to it? Adrian's first attempt to change came without an apology attached to it. Noah realized that the moment he came home and found a small overnight bag beside the front door. Adrian was standing in the living room with his coat still on. I'm going to stay somewhere else for a while, he said. Noah stopped. Why? Because you signed a lease on a worse apartment just to make sure you weren't depending on this one. Noah glanced at the bag. So you're leaving. Temporarily. Adrian said the word carefully. You can stay here. You don't have to pay for 2 places just because you need space from me. Noah had not expected that. For days, Adrian had responded to every sign of separation by trying to reduce it, stop it, or explain it away. This was different. You're offering me the apartment? I'm saying I can be the one who moves. And what do you want in return? Adrian's face tightened. Nothing. Noah waited. Adrian held his gaze for 2 seconds longer, then added, I want us to use the time to fix this. There it was. Noah felt disappointment before he could stop himself. Not because the offer was false. That was what made it harder. Adrian was trying. What does fix this mean? Noah asked. We stopped treating the severance like the only possible outcome. I'm not doing that. You're moving out. Because I need to know I can. And I'm telling you that you don't have to. Noah looked at the bag again. That part is different. Adrian seemed to take hope from the sentence. Then stay here. I'll give you space. We can talk when you're ready. We can figure out what the relationship is supposed to look like. Noah nodded slowly. That sounds reasonable. Adrian's shoulders loosened. Good. And the severance? The relief disappeared. I think you should withdraw it while we try. Noah said nothing. Not because I'm trying to control you, Adrian added. I know, but you changed the terms and still want the same guarantee. Adrian frowned. Noah stepped farther into the room. You're asking me to give up the one thing that made you believe my choice was real before I know whether your change is. Adrian's expression hardened with confusion rather than anger. The severance isn't the only thing giving you a choice. Maybe not, but it's the first time you've believed I might actually use one. That landed. Adrian looked away. Then what are you asking me to do? Noah thought of all the instructions he once would have given him. Call more, come home earlier, make time, choose me. He had spent too long turning his needs into tasks Adrian could complete without asking what they meant. I'm asking you not to make your change depend on what I give you back, Noah said. Adrian went still. That's impossible. Of course I care what happens. Noah looked at him. Caring isn't the problem. If you only respect my independence while you believe it will lead me back to you, then it isn't really mine. Adrian's mouth tightened. So I'm supposed to help you leave me. I didn't say that. It sounds exactly like that. I'm saying you don't get to decide that being better to me purchases the end of the severance. Adrian stared at him. The argument seemed to form and fail before it reached his mouth. I appreciate what you're doing. You offering to move instead of telling me not to is different. But not enough. Not if it comes with an answer you expect. From me. Adrian sat down slowly. The overnight bag remained beside the door, Proof that something had changed even if the deeper instinct had not. What if I do all of this? Adrian said. And you sever the bond anyway. There was no accusation in it now. Just fear. Noah felt his chest tighten. This was the part he could not solve for Adrian. Then I sever it anyway. Adrian looked at the floor. Noah let the words remain. That doesn't mean what you did was pointless, he added. Adrian gave a quiet, humorless laugh. It would feel pointless. Because you still think the purpose of changing is to keep me. Adrian looked up. Noah continued. Maybe the purpose has to be that this is the kind of relationship you should have offered whether I stayed or not. That struck harder than anything Noah had said before. Adrian's expression changed. If every improvement existed to produce one specific answer, then Noah was still being managed toward the outcome Adrian wanted. You're asking me to change without knowing whether it matters, Adrian said. No, Noah shook his head. I'm asking you to change without knowing whether it keeps me. Adrian was silent. After a while, he stood and picked up the bag. Noah expected him to say something final, something confident enough to make the uncertainty smaller. He didn't. At the door, Adrian paused. I don't know if I can do that. Noah believed him. Then figure out whether you want to. Adrian looked back once. And if I do? Noah met his eyes. Then do it because it's right. Not because you think it earns my signature. Adrian left. The apartment felt larger after the door closed, but not emptier in the way Noah had feared. For the first time since the severance began, Adrian was no longer being asked to find the correct words or offer the correct repair. He was being asked to give up the certainty that change would be rewarded. And if he wanted Noah's trust back, the next thing he surrendered would have to be more than comfort. It would have to be control. 3 days after Adrian left the apartment, Noah woke to a registry notification he had not expected. Non-filing mate response received. No contest. He sat up in bed and read it again. Beneath the notice was a second line. Responding party has waived formal objection and delay request. Final confirmation may proceed at the filing party's discretion. For several seconds, Noah simply stared at the screen. Adrian had done the one thing Noah had never asked him to do. He had made the severance easier to complete. Noah called him before he could talk himself out of it. Adrian answered on the second ring. You saw it? Yes. Noah got out of bed. What did you do? I submitted my response. I can see that. Then you know. I know you chose not to contest. Adrian was quiet. Noah pressed a hand to his forehead. Why? Because you were right. Noah almost laughed from disbelief. That answer is becoming suspiciously convenient. Then let me be specific. Adrian's voice was steady, but Noah could hear the strain beneath it. The registry gave me 3 options. I could contest procedural grounds. I could request more time. Or I could file no contest and let the final decision remain with you. Noah looked again at the notification. And you chose the last one. Yes. You know what that means. Yes. If I confirm now, you don't get another review period. I know. You can't delay it later because you change your mind. I know that too. Noah went silent. This was not the Adrian who had stood in the kitchen telling him to cancel the request. It was not even the Adrian who had offered to move out while quietly expecting Noah to withdraw it in return. You said you didn't know if you could change without knowing whether it would keep me, Noah said. I didn't. And now, Adrian took a breath. Now I know that if the only version of me you can trust is one who still has a way to stop you, then I haven't changed enough. The words hit Noah harder than an apology would have. So you gave up the way to stop me. Yes. Adrian, I want you to stay. The sentence came quickly this time, but Adrian did not use it to take anything back. I want the bond. I want you. I want another chance. None of that changes what you asked for. Noah sat on the edge of the bed. You understand I might use this. I do. Today. A pause. Yes. And you're still not going to contest. No, Noah closed his eyes. He had spent so much time preparing himself for resistance that the absence of it felt almost more frightening. Resistance would have made the decision simple. If Adrian tried to trap him, Noah would leave. If Adrian threatened, demanded, or used the bond as leverage, Noah would leave. But Adrian had just removed those answers for him. Why now? Noah asked. Because I finally understood what you meant when you said the change had to be right even if it didn't keep you. Adrian's voice lowered. I kept thinking love meant finding the right way to make you stay. I don't think that anymore. Noah swallowed. What do you think it means now? That if I have to make leaving harder in order to keep you, then whatever stays isn't trust. Noah said nothing. Adrian continued. I filed no contest before calling you because I knew if I called first, some part of me would be waiting for you to reassure me. I didn't want your answer attached to what I chose. That was the detail that broke through Noah's remaining suspicion. Not because it proved everything. It didn't. Trust did not return in one-form submission. But Adrian had finally made a decision without trying to secure Noah's reaction first. Where are you? Noah asked. The hotel. Are you coming back today? Only if you want me to. Noah looked toward the empty side of the bedroom, then at the registry screen again. Not yet. The silence on the other end lasted half a second. All right. No disappointment sharpened into accusation. No reminder that the apartment belonged to both of them. No wounded question about how long Noah intended to make him wait. Just acceptance. Noah felt something in his chest loosen, then immediately tighten again. You really mean that? Yes. You're making this very difficult. Adrian gave a quiet breath that might have been a laugh. I thought making it difficult was the problem. You know what I mean. I do. Noah stood and walked to the window. I need time. Take it. I'm not promising anything. I know. Stop saying that like you're calm. I'm not calm. Adrian's honesty came without performance. I'm terrified you're going to confirm the severance. I'm just trying not to make my fear your responsibility. Noah had no answer for that. For the first time since this began, Adrian's fear did not feel like pressure. It felt like something Adrian was carrying himself. I'll talk to you soon, Noah said. Whenever you're ready. The call ended. Noah remained by the window with the phone in his hand. The registry page was still open. At the bottom, where there had once been a waiting period and Adrian's unanswered response, there was now one active option. Final confirmation. Noah's thumb hovered over it, then moved away. Not because he had changed his mind. Not yet. But because the entire problem had changed shape again. Adrian had stopped trying to keep him by force, procedure, certainty, or expectation. He had made Noah's departure easier, even though it might cost him the bond permanently. That did not erase what came before. It did something more difficult. It removed the last external reason Noah could use to decide. The severance was now his to complete. The relationship was now his to leave. And for the first time, nothing stood between Noah and the ending he had asked for except the question he could no longer avoid. Now that he was genuinely free to go, did he still want to? Noah did not press final confirmation that morning. He also did not close the registry page. Instead, he called Adrian and said, "Come back to the apartment." Adrian was silent for half a second. "Are you sure?" "No," another pause. "All right." He arrived 20 minutes later without the overnight bag. Noah noticed that first. Adrian had not assumed invitation meant return. He stood just inside the doorway until Noah stepped aside. "You can come in." "Thank you." The words should not have mattered as much as they did. Noah led him to the living room. The registry page was still open on his phone, lying on the table between them. Adrian looked at it once, then deliberately looked away. Noah sat. Adrian remained standing. "Sit down," Noah said. He did. Neither of them spoke for a moment. Noah had imagined this decision would feel cleaner when it arrived. For days, Severance had given him something solid to move toward. Hurt had become paperwork. Uncertainty had become steps. Adrian's control had become an option Noah could refuse. Now all of that had worked. Noah could leave. And instead of relief, he felt exposed. "I can finish it today," he said. Adrian nodded. "I know. You won't contest. No, you won't ask for more time. No, and if I press that button after you walk out of here, you're not going to decide later that you gave me too much freedom." Adrian's face tightened, but his answer came without hesitation. "No," Noah studied him. "Do you want me to stay?" Adrian swallowed. "Yes." "Do you want the bond?" "Yes." "Do you want me not to press confirm?" "More than I can explain without sounding like I'm trying to influence you." Noah almost smiled. "You are trying very hard not to. It's miserable." That got a quiet laugh out of Noah before he could stop it. The sound disappeared quickly, but something in Adrian's expression softened. He still did not reach for him. Noah looked down at the phone. "I kept thinking the severance would tell me what to do." Adrian said nothing. "If you fought it, I would leave. If you tried to trap me, I would leave. If you told me I was overreacting again, I would leave." Noah ran his thumb along the edge of the phone. "You made all of those answers easy." Adrian's voice was careful. "And now?" Noah looked up. "Now you made the hard answer possible." Adrian went still. Noah continued. "I don't have to stay. That was the point. I needed to know I could choose something other than you without being punished for it. You can. I believe that now. The words changed the room. Adrian's eyes closed briefly, not in relief exactly, but as if he had been holding his breath since the registry notice arrived. Noah went on before that moment could turn into an ending neither of them had earned. That doesn't mean I forgive everything. I know. It doesn't mean we go back to what we were. I don't want that either. Good. Noah picked up the phone. Adrian's shoulders tensed despite everything. Noah saw it and understood. Adrian was still afraid. He was simply no longer using fear as authority. I'm not. Pressing final confirmation today, Noah said. Adrian stared at him. Today. I'm choosing to try, Noah said. That is not the same as choosing the bond, and it is not the same as withdrawing the request. I'm choosing to find out whether there is a relationship here I would want even if the bond wasn't doing any of the work for us. Adrian did not speak. Why? He finally asked. Noah looked at him. Because when you had a choice between keeping power over me and giving me the freedom to leave, you chose the freedom. Adrian's eyes dropped. Noah's voice softened. That mattered. Enough to stay? Enough not to end this today? Enough to try? Adrian nodded slowly. I'll take that. Noah raised an eyebrow. Careful. Adrian stopped himself, then tried again. I'm grateful you chose that. Better. Noah set the phone down. The final confirmation remained untouched. There are conditions. Of course. Not punishment. I understand. I keep the studio for now. Adrian nodded. Okay. You don't move back tonight. A flicker of disappointment crossed his face. Okay. And we stop treating the bond like proof that everything is fine. Agreed. Noah watched him. You're not going to argue with any of that. Would arguing help? No, then I'm learning. Noah smiled, small but real. Adrian looked at him as if the smile hurt more than the severance threat ever had. Can I ask one thing? Ask. Can I hold your hand? Noah looked at the space between them. Months ago, Adrian would have reached without thinking. The bond had made small permissions invisible. Now the question itself felt intimate. Noah placed his hand palm up on the table. Yes. Adrian took it carefully. Nothing supernatural changed. The bond did not flare or tighten or reward them. That was almost the point. Noah had been bonded to Adrian before any of this happened. What was different now was that Adrian had asked, and Noah had answered. The severance remained open. Noah had neither completed it nor withdrawn it. The old relationship still ended that day anyway. Whatever came next would have to survive without entitlement, without automatic access, and without the excuse that being bonded meant either of them had already chosen enough. The next morning, the severance request was still waiting on Noah's phone. Final confirmation remained available beneath his name, unchanged by what he had told Adrian the night before. Noah looked at it while making coffee, then locked the screen. He had made one decision, to try. The legal decision was still his to make. Adrian arrived a little after 9 because Noah had told him he could come by for breakfast. He knocked. Noah noticed that too. Adrian still had a key, but now he waited on the other side of a door he could have opened himself. Noah let him in. You didn't have to knock. Adrian stepped inside. Did you want me to? Noah considered it. For now, yes. Then I did. No argument. No wounded look. Adrian took off his coat. Can I make coffee? You know where everything is. Adrian's mouth moved slightly. That sounded almost like permission. Don't get used to it. I'm trying not to get used to anything I haven't asked about. Noah looked at him. There was no registry deadline forcing Adrian to be careful now. He was behaving differently because he had decided the old way was wrong. They ate at the kitchen counter. Nothing dramatic happened. Adrian asked about Noah's studio. Noah told him he intended to keep it for at least a few months. Adrian paused, and Noah saw the disappointment before Adrian covered it. Okay. You don't have to like it. I don't. Adrian took a sip of coffee. But I understand why you want it. Do you? I think so. He set the mug down. You need something in your life that exists because you chose it, not because being my mate automatically gave it to you. Noah studied him. That's part of it. And the other part? I like the windows. Adrian laughed quietly. The terrible studio has better windows? Much better. Then I stand corrected. Noah smiled despite himself. Weeks earlier, every disagreement had carried the weight of proof. Now Adrian could dislike the studio without treating Noah's independence as rejection. Noah's phone vibrated on the counter. Both men looked at it. The registry. Action available. Withdraw request or proceed to final. Confirmation. Adrian immediately looked away. Noah noticed. You can look. I know what it says. You're not going to ask what I'm doing. Adrian's fingers tightened once around his mug. I already know what you chose last night. And if I changed my mind this morning? Adrian went very still. Noah had not asked to hurt him. He needed to know the answer. Adrian looked at him. Then I'd want you to tell me. And I'd hate it. His voice remained steady. But I wouldn't stop you. Noah believed him. Not because Adrian sounded noble. Because he sounded afraid and still did not reach for control. Noah unlocked the phone. The registry page asked him to select one option. He chose Withdraw Request. A final form appeared beneath it. Noah read every line. Adrian stayed on the other side of the counter. He did not lean over. He did not ask whether Noah was sure. He did not remind Noah of what they had said the night before. At the bottom of the form was the same kind of signature field Noah remembered from the day he began all of this. His name had once gone there because he needed an exit from something Adrian had declared meaningless. Now the exit was real. Adrian had made certain of that. Noah rested his thumb above the signature field. I want you to understand something. Adrian looked up. Okay. I'm withdrawing this because I chose to try again with you. Noah kept his eyes on him. Not because the bond won. I know. And if this starts becoming what it was before, you don't owe me another warning before choosing yourself. Noah's breath caught. Adrian did not soften the statement or turn it into a promise about being perfect. He simply gave Noah back the consequence. Noah looked down and signed. The request disappeared from active status a moment later. Request withdrawn by filing party. The bond remained exactly as it had been. No flare of light. No supernatural sign that anything had been saved. Adrian looked at the confirmation, then at Noah. Thank you. Noah raised an eyebrow. For what? For choosing to try. Not for keeping the bond. For choosing. Adrian reached toward him, then stopped with his hand halfway across the counter. Can I? Noah looked at the open hand. The first time Adrian had grabbed his wrist after declaring the bond meaningless, he had done it automatically. Now he waited. Noah placed his hand in Adrian's. Yes. Adrian closed his fingers carefully around it. He would return to the hotel. Noah would keep the studio. Trust would not become whole because one document had changed status, and neither of them could use the bond as proof that the relationship was safe. That was the difference. Adrian had once decided what their bond meant for both of them. Noah had answered by signing his way out. Now Noah had been free to finish what he started, and Adrian had protected that freedom even when it terrified him. The severance request was gone. His ability to choose was not.